Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another Termite's Buzz, Episode 3, a weekly video game podcast where Termite runs you through things I am playing. I am Termite, I am your host. Thank you. Things I am playing, some video game news for the week, as well as some retro talk at the end. I hope your week has been going well. I find myself sitting here with a recovering earache, which as an adult, I should not be getting ear infections or earaches. It's the first adult earache I think I've ever had. I don't recall ever having to live through this. So I was supposed to record a couple of days ago, but I am now kind of rushed to get this episode done because I don't want to get too involved, but an infected ear does drain, and a draining ear and headphones do not mix. So I wanted to make sure I was in tip-top shape to record this episode. So if you are wondering who I am, what I'm doing, I am one of two hosts of 80-Bit Podsmash, Termite, and Penguin would be the other host. Penguin is going on a hiatus, so I am doing my own solo thing in lieu of 80-Bit Podsmash. As soon as 80-Bit Podsmash decides what we are going to do, we won't Termite's Buzz will go away. So these are extra bonus episodes to hold out some content each week until we come back full force with 80-Bit Podsmash's Season 2. And without further ado, we are found every single Monday at midnight. New episodes launch. You can go there, 80bitpodsmash.com, 80bit Podsmash. And I'm going to jump right into what am I playing? Well, I actually have failed to update the audience, y'all, about my addiction to Vampire Survivors. I haven't really talked about it as much as I have been playing it. For some reason, whenever I think about what I'm playing, that game isn't the first to think about talking about. I don't know why. I know it was nominated for some of the other awards for like Game of the Year of last year, so I finished it, and it's actually the first and only Xbox title I have, quote, platinumed, where I've gotten every single achievement, including the DLC. I have 100%ed Vampire Survivors. It's only available on Xbox, PC, and mobile devices, so it's not on PlayStation yet. What a game. My goodness. It's an 16-bit style, kind of top-down, twin-stick looking look and feel shooter shmup thing, but the caveat is you don't shoot anything, you don't have any inputs or any buttons to press at all, you just move around and the enemies spawn and move toward you, and it's up to you, the player, to figure out your combination of weapons that you're going to select at each time you level up. And you level up by killing enemies, so every character has a starter weapon and you attack very slowly, and the enemies are very spaced out and easy to avoid. As you start killing enemies, they drop experience gems, you level up. Every time you level up, you get to choose maybe a new weapon. Well, there's also accessories. And if you combine weapons with a specific accessory, you can evolve that weapon. And so the scale of damage goes up at a certain rate, and then the rate at which the monsters appear, both in number and in power, also increases. So there's a power curve, and your job is to strategize how and what combination of weapons you're going to get. And all you can do is move. That's it. Like, you can just one-handed the whole game. Well, I guess it requires the second hand to press A in the menus every time you level up. Treasure chests drop, and with it are gold and upgrades. When you get a treasure chest, you get a free upgrade as if you leveled up, so it's like a free level. And then when you die, which you will, because games only last a half hour, and then a Reaper comes and murders you in one hit, there are tricks and craziness to avoid that from happening, but that's way later in the game. So as you're first starting out, it's just you versus the crazy amounts of monsters using nothing but movement and your weapons and upgrades. But you don't actually press any buttons, there's no timing, you just move around, and enemies spawn, and you just keep moving, and you slay everything, and you just become like crazy overpowered. The screen is going nuts. My wife has walked into the room several times, and she goes, what is even happening? There's nothing but flashes and numbers on the screen. It's ridiculous. And I'm like, just don't worry about it. It's just so fun. And if you ever played like any sort of auto game, like auto clicker or like cookie clicker or something, it appeals to that. Like, it just hits that. Also, an old school like arcade style shmup is like, it has that kind of vibe and feel to it, so it's super fun. I love Vampire Survivors. Obviously, I finished it, and I'll get to this more later, but I also started a brand new shadow dropped game from Bethesda Studios, specifically Tango Gameworks, I believe, called Hi-Fi Rush. I actually want to look that up, make sure I got the developer studio correct. I do believe Tango Gameworks. That was correct. It was announced during the Xbox Developer Showcase, and it was shadow dropped the moment it was announced. This is a very anime style. It looks like Jet Set Radio Future mixed with Sunset Overdrive, third-person rhythm beat-em-up game. and it is absolutely incredible. I highly recommend this game. If you have Game Pass, it launched day one. You just get it. Otherwise, I don't know how much it costs, but it's on Xbox and PC, and it's phenomenal. Like being able to time your attacks to the rhythm of the song that's playing and all of the little indicators on the screen that help you do that. Like the character will always hit an enemy, like the impact of the weapon will strike the enemy on the beat, regardless of when you push the button, which I think is genius because it's a way the game can maintain its beat and rhythm, regardless of the player's ability to stay on beat. And if you do, as a player, stay on beat, you have all this extra bonus damages that you can do and like special moves you can do. There's a light attack and a heavy attack, but it's totally like a third-person hack and slash type game. So think of like Devil May Cry mixed with rhythm, and it's amazing. And the art style is phenomenal with the anime and the comic book art style, the cell shading, top-notch animation, top-notch voice acting. I mean, it's like probably a AA level like story-wise game. Like it's fun, it's engaging, it's addicting, and I want to play more of it. I've sat down with it once and got through like the first 2 levels, and of course there's a bunch of upgrades and all these things you can do in the game. But it's pretty linear. It's just like point A to point B, boss at the end, enemies throughout. Pretty awesome game. It's great. So if you haven't seen or even know what I'm talking about, Hi-Fi Rush, go check it out. Watch like a gameplay footage video. So I'm playing those, and I'm still, of course, playing Persona 5 Royal, which I will probably be talking about. If I'm honest and I say every game that I'm playing and I stick with Persona 5 Royal, I ain't going to be talking about that game for like a year because it's 100 plus hours long. And I'm not really getting through it that fast. So, and it's just still engaging, still super fun. And the PS5 upgrades are the reason why I jumped back into it, and it's totally worth it. I love that world, that universe, those characters, and the message of the game is just great. A group of phantom thieves stealing people's hearts, a group of high school kids overcoming crappy adults, doing crappy things to people, mostly children too. I'm also still playing Tactics Ogre Reborn, and I'm much farther into it now. I'm probably like almost done with Chapter 2, maybe 11 to 12 hours into the game, and I talked last time about how I was stuck on a Necromancer fight, and I overcame that with ease, and now I've just been kind of going through the story and unlocking new abilities, getting new weapons and gear, and kind of tweaking my party. Nothing revolutionary. I'm just continuing to go. The story is a little crazy, in the sense that there's a lot of name dropping, a lot of locations, clans, and the whole like medieval monarchy style way of government, where you have like dukes and you have lords and those types of things. I can't keep all of the different stuff straight, so I don't have like a solid concrete idea as to what the story is, but I do have a gist of it, and it's basically like, excuse me, there's things happened, people were killed, people were blamed for it falsely, and like big royal leaders are involved. So countries, of course, are at war over those things, and it's enough to keep me engaged. But it's a little difficult to follow for now. I think I just need to stick with it and like cement the names and the characters and the clans in my head as I keep going, and I will continue to play. But I'm enjoying the actual mechanics of the game and the tactical battles and how they unfold. Sometimes I restart fights when I lose characters because I don't want to lose anyone, and there's like extra guest NPCs that come in, and sometimes it requires like a little playthrough. But if you haven't played or even know what I'm talking about, Tactics Ogre, it is the inspiration for what was to become Final Fantasy Tactics, and so it's a turn-by-turn, grid-based tactical RPG. So your characters each move on their turn like specific amount of squares that are limited by elevation and depth and water and terrain, and then you can move a character anywhere on the map, and then their class determines what kind of abilities and gear they can equip. So like a knight, you can wear full armor and have like a sword and shield, and then like an archer can have a two-handed bow but it can only wear leather, and you have different stats that you want to track with those to optimize for the best damage you can get. And then you have like skills and spells and abilities and all these things that help you out. So it's super fun to kind of mess with the combination of different types of classes you want, and figure out what works and what doesn't. And I'm having a blast. I'm really liking that game. It's hitting. So as a gamer, I am fed right now. I'm good to go. And I'm looking forward to February when some new games are going to come out. In fact, the next game on my list to get is, well, I guess Dead Space Remake came out. I just don't have space in my life to play it yet, but Hogwarts Legacy coming on February 10th, which I will talk about there's a whole bunch to talk about with Hogwarts Legacy, what's going on in the gaming industry, the discourse around that game. But I'm going to wait until the game actually comes out and I actually play it and or read the reviews if I don't play it, and I'll address all of that then. So that's what's coming. That's what I'm playing. That's what I'm doing. Gaming industry. What is going on in the news this past week? What do I get to summarize and talk about with y'all? A couple of things. The Xbox Developer Showcase happened. As I promised last week, I would report back. I did watch it live. So specifically, this is Xbox Game Studios and Bethesda Softworks. They held their Developer Direct Showcase Wednesday the 25th, and they showcased details and gameplay for games, the following titles: Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, as well as, what did I just say? Redfall, Minecraft, Forza, Hi-Fi Rush was announced and released, and then some Elder Scrolls Online updates. Of course, Starfield is coming, but that's going to be a separate, in and of itself, video showcase, so it was separate here. So I don't remember the exact order of everything that was showcased, but Minecraft Legends looks pretty cool. And it's another Minecraft spinoff, kind of like Minecraft Dungeons, but this time they went the RTS route. So they showcased base building, and you can build walls and structures and upgrades and units, much like StarCraft and or Warcraft. So I thought that looked pretty interesting in the Minecraft world. I don't know if I'll play it. It will come to Game Pass, and my son will inevitably be interested in it. So I might dabble in that, but it seems like it'd be a really good multiplayer experience for those who are looking for something a little new, refreshing, and different, because there's definitely nothing like that right now in the sea of battle royales and multiplayer titles that we have, sports games and such. Forza Motorsport, that presentation, it showcased a lot. It looks really, really good. Seems like it's going to be great. But if you watch that presentation, every single new feature was introduced from the ground up. So it was the built from the ground up presentation, because it was constant. Whoa! Something just fell and scared me. Okay, I don't know how that happened. That was terrifying. Legitimately, goosebumps. Okay. Okay, Turn 10 Studios is making the next Forza. It's the 8th entry, but they're just calling it Forza Motorsport, and they showcased and announced 500 cars will come out with at release. The audio-visual fidelity that we would expect from an Xbox showpiece that we've seen, of course, 4K, 60 frames per second, ray trace light rendering, full customization on all the cars. They showcased in depth one of the tracks that I think is in South Africa. They talked about the dirt system, how it's dynamic and it builds, cars will accumulate dirt in low-pressure areas like they would in real life. They talked about all of these systems, real-time weather changing for the first time, built from the ground up. Physics engine built from the ground up. Sound engine built from the ground up. It was ridiculous, and I was laughing. But I'm extremely excited about Forza Motorsport. It was a really, really, really good showcase for those who are interested in racing simulators like Gran Turismo. It actually kind of inspired me to reapproach my Forza collection, and I'll get more on that in my retro discussion later on in this episode. Also, Redfall, there was a 10-minute gameplay video of Redfall. It's a first-person shooter coming from Arcane Studios, the makers of Deathloop and Dishonored. Come on, Termite. Remember your games now. It pits a group of survivors against an infestation of vampires in an overrun seaside town. And, of course, that's coming on May 2nd. We got a release date, May 2nd, so that's great. And it will launch on Game Pass, Xbox, and PC. So Game Pass for Xbox and then PC console. So it had a really big Left 4 Dead kind of vibe. So definitely a group of survivors working together. Infestation of vampires, different types of specialized beasts that almost had a Destiny-esque boss level mechanics to them. Each of them are different and unique, seemingly so. The weapons are crazy, almost like Borderlands style, variations of stuff. And we saw a loot system that looked like Back 4 Blood, which is kind of inspired by Apex Legends, which I personally did not care for. So it's going to take, as it gets closer to reviews, to learn and hear more about what the actual gear system looks like and weapons and things. But it seems like, from what I gathered and watching this gameplay footage, very much like Left 4 Dead. So there's these massive skill trees for each of the characters too. So customization of your character to fit your playstyle very like character-based shooter, which I think is a thing pulled from the popularity of games like Overwatch and Apex Legends, where it's character shooters. So it's a whole bunch of like things kind of combined. It was funny because at the end of the Arcane Studios presentation, they like touted how they want to make something truly unique that's never been done before, but like every mechanic they showed off has been pulled from a different game that we've seen before. So maybe it's the sum of its parts is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts or something. Like, we'll see. I'm excited about Redfall. I think it could be a lot of fun. Because it's on Game Pass, I have no stakes. I can just, like, all this stuff. Like, that's Microsoft's thing, right? It's the best deal in gaming. Everything comes out. You get excited about it. You're like, oh, sweet. I can just play that when it comes out and not have to pay anything. So if you're interested at all in Redfall, I have that picked in my fantasy draft. I think it's going to review well based on how successful Deathloop was. I think this game has a lot of potential. A lot of people are excited about it. There's a lot of hype built up around it, and a game like Left 4 Dead that could be successful, because Back 4 Blood kind of flopped. I think there's a market for it, and it could be very successful. Now, I know that my fantasy draft pick is based on review scores, so it's going to be how engaging, how fun, and how solid are the mechanics, which I think Arcane Studios is more than capable of making something that will review well and give me points in my fantasy league. Then, of course, Hi-Fi Rush. Tango Gameworks, a Bethesda studio behind horror games such as The Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo, revealed its next project, Hi-Fi Rush. It's a big departure for the studio. Hi-Fi Rush is a cartoonish rhythm-based action game with a colorful visual style that looks somewhere between Sega's Jet Set Radio and Insomniac's Sunset Overdrive. And the biggest surprise is that it came out. So it was a shadow drop, super hype. As I just talked about in my What Am I Playing, I am currently playing this now, and it is great. I highly recommend it. So go please check that out. I won't talk much more about that. But it was in the Xbox Showcase, announced and dropped. And then Elder Scrolls Online, ZeniMax Online Studios MMO Elder Scrolls Online gets a new chapter, Necrom, this June. It will return players to the alien lands of Morrowind and its unexplored eastern regions. Necrom begins with its new playable class, the Arcanist. I'm reading from an article on Polygon written by Michael McWhorter. I will link to it in the show notes, so go give them the click if you want a little quick recap of everything that was showcased. So this is Microsoft's... Remember, Microsoft was not in the Game Awards. They have had almost no game announcements at all. The only thing in the news that has been going on with Xbox right now, or Microsoft in general, is the merging deal with Activision Blizzard, or the acquisition, and all of its drama has been kind of unfolded by everything else going on in that process. So this is a great breath of fresh air for Xbox fans specifically to finally get some updates and information on what's going on with Xbox Game Studios, because all we're seeing is a ton of acquisitions and some announcements that happen with no release dates or release windows and no follow-through. And there's a lot of complaints going on where Game Pass is awesome, it's great, you get all these things, and it's best deal in gaming, but there's no big titles that are like luring people in after the Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite of last year. So, and that was actually like 2021. The end of 2021 was when those games had come out. So 2022 was really a big drought for Xbox players outside of some smaller titles. So this was a pretty good showcase. I would rate it like a B because it only highlighted 4 games, and we need to know more from what else is going on. Like, where's the Senua's Sacrifice Hellblade sequel? Update on that. Where is Fable? Where's Perfect Dark from Coalition? So there's all these other titles. Where's Avowed from Obsidian? What are these other studios working on? Like, what is happening? So the fact that we got these, that's fine. We got some release dates because we got Minecraft coming in April, we got Redfall coming in May, and the Elder Scrolls is June. So we have April, May, and June for like big months. But what is happening after that? What's the second half of the year look like? We didn't get a release date for Forza. Is that delayed? That's on some people's fantasy picks too, and we don't know if that's coming out this year. And it was supposed to come out in spring, I believe. So is it pushed back to November? We don't know. And we also don't have a release date for Starfield yet. What is going on with Microsoft? This was a chance to really answer some questions, and it fell short. It did not answer a whole lot of questions, but it did give us something for at least between now and June. So that's why I rated it a B. Nothing crazy except for the Hi-Fi Rush. That was the biggest surprise. And I wouldn't consider that like this absolutely amazing AAA game, blow your socks off, must-play Game of the Year contender for 2023. Maybe it'll be like game direction, art direction. It'll be nominated for some of those other titles, but it's not going to be nominated for Game of the Year, I don't think. Maybe it'll make it for someone, but for me, it will not be. It's not Game of the Year material, but it's really, really good, and because it's on Game Pass, it didn't cost anything. Like, totally go check that out if you have it. It's great. On to the next story. The next story is a really short one. HBO renews The Last of Us for a second season. Also coming by way of Polygon from Susana Polo. Last of Us is already shaping up to be one of the best TV shows of 2023, a natural evolution from a video game borrowing the style of prestige TV to prestige TV borrowing the style of a video game. And HBO seems to think so too. The Last of Us will return for a second season, the network announced on Friday. According to HBO's news release, The Last of Us premiere was the company's second biggest launch of a series, behind only House of Dragon's debut, and the show's audience grew by more than 20% for the second episode, and the third episode airs tonight from the day of this recording. So, it has also been confirmed that Naughty Dog's 2020 sequel, The Last of Us Part 2, will be Season 2 for the show, and Mazin, I don't know who Mazin is, who's Craig Mazin, executive producer, previously said the game sequel would take more than one season to cover in a TV adaptation, so a potential for a third season if they split the second game into two separate seasons. So speculation abounds. Abby's season would be one season, and then Ellie's Last of Us Part 2 story is another season. Are they going to go back and forth? Are they going to do... Who knows? But I'm excited. The Last of Us show is absolutely incredible. Arguably the best show on HBO, according to the numbers and the statistics and things. Second best to only House of Dragons, so... That's really, really, really good. It is a really good show. It's extremely heavy. It's very real. It's very grounded, and it follows the game. It's so good. I could have entire podcast conversations breaking down like scene by scene, going through the differences between the game and the show and those things. I don't want to get into all of that in this show, so I apologize. But maybe when the whole season's done, we can go through and do like a deep dive, but there's just so much content out there right now if you want to get into the show and the nitty-gritties and the comparison between it and the game and how faithful it is and all the great stuff. You can go find that content. But this is Termite's Buzz, so I'm just giving you the news. And the news is that there will be a Season 2, because Season 1 rocks, and I agree. The last piece of news is not really news, but it is something that happened. Dead Space Remake has dropped, and the reviews are awesome. It's currently sitting at a 90 on OpenCritic. That is the average aggregate across various review outlets. IGN gave it a 9. Game Informer gave it a 9. GameSpot gave it a 9, and so on and so forth. So it is being received well. I haven't played it yet. It was on my list of games to play this year, but I am currently bogged down with Tactics Ogre Persona 5, so I don't want to jump over to Dead Space yet. And as a gamer who has limited time, it does me the best interest. It's in my best interest to just wait. The game will be cheap, and it will have patches. It will play and run better as a result. Although this game seems to be like pretty flawless, pretty good. So, what do y'all think of Dead Space Remake? Are you playing it now? I would love to know. And before I go into my retro discussion, I will take a second to review. You can find links to all of our social media outlets over at 80-Bit Podsmash, 80-BIT Podsmash, where you can give me the feedback, thoughts, questions, concerns, and tell me if you're playing Dead Space. Tell me if you're watching Last of Us. Tell me what you think of it. Tell me what you think about Xbox's developer showcase and what it means for the future of Xbox and Microsoft this year. And let me know what you are thinking and how it goes, how the show is going, segments you want to see, things I want to talk about. If you want to hear me or my opinion on things, please let me know, and you can do all of that. 80-BIT Podsmash. That's actually a link tree to all of our stuff. We're TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit. We have a Discord server you can jump in on, and you can also comment on the YouTube videos that go up, which is just the audio portion of this until spoiler alert, until I figure out what I want to do with video. Maybe I want to migrate to video, maybe I don't. We'll see. It's in the works. Nothing is off the table for 80-Bit Podsmash Season 2 either. So, like, subscribe, and follow along on all of those things so that you can be made aware of whenever we make changes. And whenever 80-Bit comes back, you'll be the first ones to know. And with that, we're going to go into the retro discussion. I feel like the show is moving at a pretty good pace. I'm at 25 minutes. So what's going on in the retro world of Termite? I have amassed a massive collection of games over the years, 30 years of gaming, and I love to talk about retro things. Sometimes I will highlight a title and its impact and legacy, and sometimes I will talk about an old console, also impact and legacy. And mostly what I've been doing the last 2 episodes is talking about new acquisitions to my collection, which I have a little bit here. But I'm going to go in a kind of a different direction, and I have reestablished something I haven't done in probably a good part of 5 to 10 years, and that is the LAN party. But I'll get there. So, first off, what have I been collecting, buying, what's new in Termite's collection? I think I had talked briefly about a copy of Half-Life 2 on the original Xbox that has now come in, and I have tested it, and it has a really, really low frame rate, really low resolution. It's very blurry, but there's just something about that source engine with Half-Life 2. It's magical. And the original Xbox, it feels like such a good fit. I don't know why, because it also came out in the orange box on 360, and it runs and looks so much better there. So, like, that's obviously a better place to play it. It's also on PlayStation 3 in the same orange box. But the original Xbox, the fact that they did it, Valve, like, it's masterwork of porting technology. I don't know what they did, but it plays, it runs, and it's super fun, just like Half-Life 2 is. And I wonder how many people in the world experienced Half-Life 2 as the only experience of Half-Life 2 they have is on the original Xbox, right? Because, like, most people got it on a PC. It's Valve, it's Steam, it was PC-centric, and myself included, I had it on PC. And it took a pretty beefy rig to run with the higher settings. And I remember technologies coming out of it with like Bloom, which was like a lighting effect that changed. It was kind of the precursor to high dynamic range, where you could fake out kind of brighter segments and like reflections, make those look really, really bright, and then fade the brightness into the other areas of the screen. So it popped a little bit better. And so it like really had a neat effect with stained glass, or how light reflect off of skin. So they had that going for it. And then the physics engine, of course, was earth shattering and paradigm shifting as far as physics rendering and how to use mechanics in the game with real-time physics. Stuff like buoyancy was rendered and replicated well. There's even puzzles in the game that had to do with buoyancy. You had to like use empty cans underwater to like float a platform. You had to move platforms on the water, like wooden platforms that would float, and you had to jump on them. So all kind of really cool like physics-based puzzles. You had to like use a saw and throw a saw to cut rope, and how all that stuff worked. There was a gravity gun. You could like pick up things and shoot stuff across the levels. It was just awesome. And the fact that the original Xbox can run this is just mind-boggling. So that was really cool. It was a fun little romp. I didn't play very much of it because I don't have time to jump into a like 10 to 15 hour shooter and experience that right now, because I have so many other things I'm trying to play. So that's the kicker with having a retro library. It's what am I actually going to play versus like what's on my shelf for just nostalgia and I want to have it. So that's that. Because Forza Motorsport was announced at the Xbox Showcase, I got my gears turning about Forza and my history with it. And I used to want every Forza, so I have the first one on the original Xbox. I missed the sequel, and then I bought Forza Motorsport 3 on the 360 when it had come out initially years ago, and I played so much Forza 3. It was amazing. It was my first Forza on Xbox 360, because like I said, I skipped Forza 2, so the graphics were so good, and Gran Turismo 5 was what was offered on PlayStation 3, and while it was amazing and super fun, there were all these limitations with Gran Turismo 5. If y'all remember, there were like premiere models and then normal models, and the normal models looked like they were just grabbed from PS2 and ported and thrown into Gran Turismo 5 and like up-res slightly, so the models didn't look that great, but the premiere models looked absolutely breathtaking, and so it was kind of like this. It was super delayed. There was this Gran Turismo 5 prologue that was released initially, and then years later, Gran Turismo 5 finally came out, and it was this big honkin' game, and it didn't. They tried to get 60 frames per second in there, but I feel like everything else was not. Like during the races, it was a good frame rate, but everywhere else, it was kind of clunky, and the menu system, it was fine. It worked. I played a ton of Gran Turismo 5, believe me, as a motorsports fan. That was awesome, but something about Forza Motorsport 3, it just had all of the perfect integrations with Xbox Live, the friends list. It had the Drivatar, where it would use like AI to map your friends' driving styles into the AI and then put your friends kind of in your single-player experience, which I thought was really fun. Car customization was through the roof. All the models looked wonderful and beautiful. I just played a lot of it, and I loved the career progression where you start off with kind of a weak, slow car, and you collect credits and like upgrade to newer cars, and you either upgrade your current car, you bought a different car, and they limited what types of cars you could get in each race, which encouraged you to kind of go out and spread your money to get different types of cars, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, Japanese, European, American, and different sizes, mid-engine, front-engine, rear-engine, all kind of fun stuff. So it was just a very unique time, and I loved Forza 3. I had since traded that copy in because I used to be a very poor college gamer, and so I used to trade rotations of trade-ins at the GameStop, take advantage of the deals, get the trade-in deals, buy games on sale, and so I would do that. I lost my copy of Forza 3 to that, and I never really looked back. Since then, Forza 4 had come out a couple of years even after that. Again, a 360 title, and I got that one, but I ordered, at that time I had a real job, and I ordered the collector's, or like the legendary edition. It's like the $80 one that has like a steel book and like a thicker case and some like a book that comes with it. Loved Forza 4. That was kind of the last Forza Motorsport game that I got into. So of course I played Forza Horizon. Of course, that was amazing. So Forza Horizon 1, I skipped Forza Horizon 2 because I didn't really want to get into that ecosystem. I was playing on PlayStation 3 and 4 a lot more. And then I came back to Forza Horizon 3 when I got an Xbox One. And then I played Forza Horizon 4 on Game Pass when I first got Game Pass. And then, of course, I played Forza Horizon 5. So I guess the Forza experience that I was looking for, that what scratched that itch, was Horizon, which is more arcadey. It's less simulation, but it uses elements from the motorsport simulation in it. So it's kind of incorporated. So it's not as arcadey as like Need for Speed, and it's not as simulatory as Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport. I dabbled in Forza 7, thought it was great, but it didn't really grab me because the career progression looked so different. It was almost like you could use any car anytime, anywhere, and there was so much, like, I guess, quality of life improvements that automated the experience for you in that regard that I didn't find it as engaging. I actually liked the progression of starting with a really slow, weak car and like having to force myself to think which upgrades to get and how to, I like to overpower the car so that the races are kind of easy sometimes. And then sometimes I like to ride the curve, like turn up some of the difficulty things to make the credits, because you can adjust the difficulty and tweak it to get more money. And so you can make it harder for you and get more money. In fact, in Forza Motorsport 3, I had a full-blown manual transmission with a clutch pedal. So you had to press the button to hold the clutch in and then let the clutch out while you switch gears up and down through turns. And I actually got pretty good at it. Like, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoy Forza. So with all of that discussion, I bought a copy of Forza 3 on eBay. It's on its way. I will receive it this week, and I will load it up on a 360. I will load my old game save, see where I left off, and I will have a nostalgia moment with it, and it should be fun. Right now, they're pretty cheap, so I think I only spent like $15 on it. I'm not super invested. I don't really... Like, if I don't play it a whole lot, I'm not going to be upset. But I really wanted, like, I would like to have the full set of Forza games. And I have 7. I will have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 7. So I need to get 5 and 6. And then I'll have the whole set of Forza games. And then with Forza Horizon, I need to get 2, and I need to get 4 and 5. Because I only have 1 and 3 physically. So that's kind of my goal with the collecting as I find cheap copies. I could just go buy them all right now on eBay. Like, it's not a problem. But I like to kind of hold back, find these games in like lots. If you are a game collector, if you buy things online a lot, especially old stuff, you can find lots of stuff. So it's someone trying to get rid of a whole giant mess ton of games. And in there, they're usually cheaper per game than they would be if you buy them by themselves. So I like to hold out and see what I can find at like stores or thrift stores or yard sales, which I haven't done in a long time. See if I can find one that way. So with one thing that this whole experience has made me come to light, and I want to talk about here, is trade-ins. Like, trading in titles. I will never trade in a game again. I'm at that point. I made that declaration, I think, like 5 or 6 years ago with the PlayStation 4 generation, like halfway through. So maybe like 2016, 2017, I was like, never again. I'm not trading stuff in. I'm tired of losing stuff. I buy a game and it's mine forever. It will sit on my shelf, which makes me a better consumer because I'm now thinking about, what am I buying physically? Am I buying this because it's a good deal? Am I buying it because I'm going to play it? Am I buying it because I'm a collector? Those are all questions I now have to go through. what I love about that mentality is that I'll never lose another title again. There's so many games I used to own that I've traded in and are now stupid expensive. And I say so many because I have that feeling a lot, but I'm failing to recall of a specific example of that right now. I think there was I know like there was a bunch of original Xbox games, PS2, GameCube stuff I had rotated through, and anything GameCube is super expensive now. And so I just have a lot of sadness and regret for getting rid of titles, selling things, but you have to do what you got to do. You know, I was a poor college kid, and I had very limited time to game between working part-time and going to classes, 3 to 4, sometimes 5 classes in a semester. You're just bogged down with life. You have no time to play. And so that one game that you want that costs $60 is like bank breaking when you're trying to save every dime for college, but you really want to play it, so you just trade in stuff. I think I maybe even traded in some DS games back in the day, maybe some 3DS titles. And I know I've gotten rid of some things that I can't even remember now. And sometimes I go back and look at how much they are to get back. And I'm like, oh, why did I trade it in? I got like $5 for it. It's $50 now or something. And what do y'all think about trade-ins? Do you currently trade in games? Do you feel a need? Do you just buy them digitally and like there's no way to trade it in? Do you buy physical games because of the ability to trade or resell? Some people I know that they buy physical games exclusively for the reason of being able to sell it back or like trade it in to get a discount on the next round of games. I'm wondering. So that's one aspect of retro gaming. And the other one is something I've been working on with a person in my community here at the community I live in is called Emerson Commons. We have a website. You can look it up. But one of the guys here hit me up and was like, hey, I used to have a really good time playing Left 4 Dead. I have a copy of it digitally on Xbox. Is there a way that we could like play that? And that got my gears turning. And in my collection, I have 3 Xbox 360 consoles. Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 are both in that generation. So, in fact, I think they're Xbox and PC exclusives. You cannot get them on PlayStation 3. And so I have Left 4 Dead 1, Left 4 Dead 2, and I have 3 Xbox 360 consoles, and I have about 5 controllers. So that question has evolved into both of us putting our minds together to figure out a way to get 6 people on 3 Xbox 360s, on 3 TVs, to play 6-player versus mode in Left 4 Dead. So versus mode is the survivors versus the infected, and the infected are the special like type of enemies, the smoker, the hunter, the boomer, and it has been a blast. And in fact, earlier today, we have a common house on the property where it's a physical house in the middle of the property that no one actually lives in, but it's our common meeting space. So we have our meetings there, our community meetings. We have common meals there, and there is a TV there. So we have one TV at the common house that we can use. It's a big screen, a big, huge TV screen, which is super fun. So I brought a computer monitor up there. I brought my 3 Xboxes up there. I met with this guy, and we hooked everything up. I brought a network switch. We've got all the cables, and we just couldn't remember how split screen worked between connecting consoles, System Link versus Xbox Live, like what, he's got a copy of the game digitally, can we use it? We had a ton of questions. We're like, I don't remember half this stuff. I know I was involved in LAN parties at that time, all on PC. So I only had PC LAN parties. We didn't really have console LAN parties, but there was the gamepad in the mall. If you remember in Fredericksburg, for friends of the show who were friends with me at that time, there was a place you could pay money per hour to play video games in the mall, and they had a ton of PS3s and Xbox 360s and things. They were all networked together. And I remember I had my profile on a memory stick, and I would go there, and we'd go with friends, and we'd play Left 4 Dead specifically, and it was so much fun. But that was a 1-to-1. One person had their own console, their own monitor, and their own controller. Now we're kind of figuring out this hybrid of like system linking with split screen together. But wow, what a retro, nostalgic feeling it has been to like just the sounds of Left 4 Dead's menu and the enemies and like going into a game and hearing all the banter between all the characters again. Just an amazing game, and I'm so excited. This is totally right up my alley with retro. I'm glad there's a community here of people who are interested in even doing it. So me and this guy, the reason we're setting it up like this, we want to answer all of our questions. We want to get everything we need. We still have some purchasing we need to do. We have to buy one more controller. We got to buy one more copy of each game, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. And we need to figure out where we're going to get the monitors from. But we've gotten everything else tested and proven. We've gotten like dummy accounts. I have to set up some dummy accounts on the Xbox consoles so that we can all play. without having to everyone create their own account and go through all that. So the idea is that when we're all set up and ready to go, I do all the work, set it up at the common house, and then I just send out the message like in advance. Of course, we got to plan ahead because we all have kids. So it'd be like, hey, sometime February on Saturday, we're going to set aside 3 hours and we're going to play Left 4 Dead. Come to the common house. And then I can go up ahead of time and like set up 3 Xbox consoles, 3 monitors and all the controllers and get all the accounts and make sure everything works. It's so much fun. That generation was just so foundational in modern gaming. It's crazy. So you couldn't really I'm sure there were some titles you could set up like a multiple. We did this with Halo, right? In the original Xbox, but Xbox really did pioneer this idea of multiplayer online console gaming where you could system link consoles together in a mainstream way. I say pioneer like they're the first ones to do it. No. You could link up Dreamcasts, it had a modem. You could link up GameCubes, it also had a modem. The PlayStation 2 had Final Fantasy 11 on it. It could connect to a massively multiplayer online RPG. But like the Xbox had Xbox Live. It came bundled with a headset and a microphone when you bought the subscription to play Halo 2. And colleges everywhere at the time had designated projector spaces and everyone was bringing their Xbox consoles to each other's houses and running network cables all over the house, hooking up TVs and trying to figure out how to do 4v4 Halo. It's just so much fun. And maybe the real foundation of that was GoldenEye and Perfect Dark on the N64, where you had 4 controller ports and 4-player split screen. But that idea of getting folks together, playing some old retro game like Left 4 Dead, which I can't believe is a retro game. I consider Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 retro. People argue, but I would consider Wii U as retro. It's 10 years old, and that's kind of the newest console that has just recently, to me, been in the retro category. So I used to have a lot of Left 4 Dead LAN parties with my PC. So I'd bring my PC to other friends' houses. People would come to my house, and we play a lot of Left 4 Dead. Hours and hours and hours of Left 4 Dead. Just tons and tons of super fun cooperative. We even wanted to build a map. I got down the rabbit hole of, how can I build a map? It's, of course, Valve, and so it has the Source engine and how you would construct a map in it. Very complicated stuff, way over our head. But we had a blast, and now it's I'm reliving all of that again, and it's super, super fun. I'm loving it. Now I'm going to have all these Xbox 360s hooked up, so I've been going through the process of hooking each one up to the internet and signing into my Xbox account, updating them all, installing what used to be, games weren't really installed then the way they're now. So, you put the Left 4 Dead disc in, and the game just starts immediately. It's not until you load the game and sign into Xbox Live that it asks you to download the update, and it's a 4 megabyte update, and then you're done. It's slower because the load times are awful, but it's faster. The entirety of Left 4 Dead is 3 gigs. So it's hilarious, hilariously fast, and you don't have to install it off the disc. It doesn't copy all the data off the disc like a modern game does. If I go buy Dead Space Remake and I put it in my PlayStation 5, I can't play it for 2 hours because it's got to install the game and it's got to download the patch. It's going to take forever. So you have to plan ahead, and most of the time I buy games on work days and I come home and I put the disc in and I go to work. And then I don't even check it until nighttime because who knows how long it takes. And there's that threshold where it's you can start playing after a certain amount of installs, and it's all this retro idea really harkens back to a time when things were much simpler when it comes to owning physical media. And I think we as a gaming industry have kind of moved away from that. And now CDs really are just a key that unlocks the game because everything has to be downloaded or copied off the disc. And I know you can knock your console, your PS5, your Xbox Series console, you can just take them offline, knock them off the internet, and play off a disc, and it'll play without the day one patch or whatever. But day one patches are normalized now, so the game's almost not even complete or good until you download the day one patch. But man, just back in the day, good old-fashioned Xbox 360, good stuff. So yeah, that's a lot of retro things going on right now with Xbox specifically, which really hit me by surprise because I've been in PlayStation and GameCube land for so long that this has kind of been fun having someone else outside of myself to dabble in. And if T-Bone is still listening, whenever he comes to visit, we're definitely going to have to get some of the neighbors together and play some Left 4 Dead. Hopefully there'll be a visit that doesn't involve a holiday or a person's birthday or a specific thing, where we have more freedom to do fun things like play video games in our common house. We'll see. But that's where Termite is this week. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for listening if you're still here. Look forward to chatting with y'all next week. I don't know what's on the horizon for... I can't tee up or tease anything that's going on this week because there's no big gaming announcements that I'm aware of. And it will be the end of January, which means dry January for Termite is over in a couple days. So maybe next time I'll have a drink and I will talk about what I'm drinking, and maybe we'll do all that. Who knows? I don't know. But I guarantee you there will be 3 segments. What am I playing? What's going on in the news? And what's the retro talk like? I will report back about Forza 3. I will report back about the 360 things, Xbox stuff that I bought. I'm going to be taking apart controllers, replacing joysticks, and I bought battery covers, and you got to test all those things out, make sure everything works. So, without further ado, I will see you next week.